and have you shared your screen? Okay, so you can start now, and I switch off my.
I can start your presentation.
Is it okay?
Okay, thank you.
You can hear me? Okay. So, hi everyone, thanks for the organizers and for everyone for being here. I think it's the first time for me I'm going to present this kind of materials about the GRB-based project, which is a work I'm doing in collaboration with Bruce Gendre, Alain Klotz, Benjamin Chabert, and Jean-François Leborgne also. So I'm pretty happy to present this for the first time to all of you. So I'm also talking under the pressure of Alain and Bruce, who are here. So I hope to not say too many mistakes. Okay, so I have just a small outline. I would like to, in this small talk, to just introduce you what is GR-based and a bit giving you some insights on what are we missing at the observational point of view to have a better understanding of the GRB physics, and why I think, of course, we need Swarm and Colibri, but also GR-based for the future of the GRB science. So first, what is GR-based actually? So I think at the beginning it originates from Bruce's idea and Alain, and then when I started my PhD, we tried to build a working team to make this project more concrete. So this is a project that started at IRAP in Toulouse, and now it's collaboration between me at CEA Saclay, Alain, and also Bruce at the University of Western Australia. So GR-based is actually have two sides. It's first a database where we try to collect all the multi-wavelength observations of the prompt and afterglow emissions. We have also some data about the host galaxies, the main properties, and also some metadata about the redshift of each GRB, what is the galactic extinction in the line of sight, etc., etc. So we have currently around 600 GRBs stored in this database from 1997 up to 2016 right now. So I hope to finish the collection of those data up to 2020 by the end of the year, for at least for the GRBs with redshift. And our plan is to make this database available for everyone who wants to do research in the GRB domain. So right now, the database is not available to everyone because we are building it. And we have also, we also plan to provide a toolbox to help scientists willing to perform multi-wavelength analysis of the prompt emission, but also of the afterglow emission of GRBs, or to extract very easily, very quickly the data they want by many sorts of filters. We will provide also tools to test analytic models for afterglow emission, or to do spectroscopic or photometric studies, modeling, fitting, etc. So there are two sides, database and also a set of tools to help you to make your analysis or to quickly extract the data. So what is GR-based in some figures, in some numbers? So we have currently around 90,000 data from Swift X30 in X-rays. So these are the data basically you can find on the Leicester website. And the main part of the work was to collect around right now 30,000 of data in optical and infrared wavelength. So you have the detail of the optical and infrared data we have collected so far in the different photometric bands. What you can clearly see in this pie chart is the difference between the number of data we have in the R band and in the other bands, and especially in the infrared bands. What I want to say in these slides, especially is that if you look at GH and K band, you have so few telescopes that are able to observe in this area of the spectrum. And if you want to look at the telescopes which are able to observe in the all optical and infrared bands, you actually finish between two. I think, to my knowledge, there were only two telescopes which are able to do this. It's the 2.2 meter Atlas SCI equipped with ground, and the Ratir instrument on the Harold Johnson telescope at San Pedro Martir. So those data were collected on public data taken by more than 300 telescopes over more than 20 years. So you can see that Colibri in this landscape is a very unique telescope, like and Drago plus Kagir and maybe the spectrograph with no name are very unique instruments for GRB follow-up observation, and hopefully they are coming soon in 2021 or 2022. So now we go deeper into the GRBs, what is inside. So here I'm showing you the light curves we have collected so far. You have on the left side on purple color the light curves provided by Swift XRT, basically. The light curve we have in the R band and the light curve we have in the G band. I have also H band, K band, but I don't want to show everything. For the R and G band, we also have the upper limits taken by the different teams. And what you can clearly see that, of course, we have very few observations from 0 to 100 seconds up to the trigger time, which means that we have very few prompt X-ray. We have some, but very few prompt X-ray and prompt optical infrared data. In infrared, we have very few, almost nothing in the prompt emission when the camera was active. We have, thanks to Swift, we have a lot of data at early times for the early afterglow emission. We have a lot of efforts by the observer teams to have airborne data at early times also for the early afterglow, but I will show you later that these times are where the light curves are not very well sampled. And then for late time afterglow, we have rather well coverage, at least in X-band and in the airborne. You can make an exercise, so you can cut all those light curves in different time bins, and you can count for each GRB the number of data points you have in each time bins. It's going to give you an idea of how well you are sampling the light curve. And I did this exercise for you, which is maybe that complicated plots. So for each plot, you have the time since the GRB trigger, and the y-axis give you on average, so I normalize to the number of GRB I have in the different bands, on average, the number of observations you have per GRB, yes. And you can see that in X-rays, we are pretty well sampling the light curves, while in other optical and infrared band, it's pretty low sampling, especially at very early times. So yes, we have observation at early times in the R band, but the light curves are not very well sampled. And it's a problem because you can have so many features at very early times. You can see the rise of the optical afterglow, you can see plateaus, etc. So this is the lesson 1. I will let you read this later because time is running out for me. Yes, for you it's Hubert. Yeah. So anyway, I have 3 other slides, but I'm going to present only one because it's just typical example of what you could do with GRBase. And I want to present this because it's the work I'm doing actually currently. You can try to work on try to constrain the prompt emission physics, the radiative physics behind the prompt emission. So here I show you a multi-wavelength light curve of a given GRB stored in GRBase, which is GRB 110205A. You can see on the left the BAT light curve. In blue, in orange, you have the XRT light curve, and in red, you have the Tarot optical light curves in the R band. Be careful, the y-axis for the XRT and BAT are completely arbitrary, so it's not a real scales. And you can take from this some time binnings also and try to make time resolved spectral analysis. So you can extract for each time bin the spectra, if your burst is bright enough, of course. And you can try to constrain the spectrum in those time binnings. And I try to do this exercise for now, it's preliminary results. And for example, I find for this time bin, I point with the arrow, red arrow. I have a very good agreement with broken power law model with a break at low energy at about 4 or 5 keV. It's typically the results found also by other teams who try to explain the low energy cuts, particularly with synchrotron emission model. So it's kind of revenge of the synchrotron model, and it's an idea developed by the people I cited just below. So this is typically something you will be able to do with GRBase. So you will have the data, and we will provide also you the tools to make this kind of analysis. Of course, if you want to make the analysis from your own, you can just download the data, and that's all. One key thing is that the prompt optical and infrared data could be really one of the key to understand the nature of the radiative processes that work during the prompt emission. And so I think thanks to the anti-solar orbit strategy of SWOM and Colibri telescopes, we will have much more, I hope, optical and infrared prompt data. I hope, it's a hope, yes. Another thing you can do is time-resolved spectral analysis with analytical model for afterglow phase. I'm not going to describe this because time is running out for me. So, but what I just want to say that we have different analytical models you could use to test the agreement between your data and your model. And you can also study how is the impact of the fact that you have different bands, you are observing different bands, and how it's helped to constrain better the macrophysical parameters of your after emission. You can also make population, of course, and selection effect studies. I'm not going to talk about this, but of course, because we have a lot of data, you can study how the optical selection effects play on your population studies, or how the gamma ray selection effects plays also on your population studies. So it's very important to know that with more multi-wavelength data and also efficient analysis tools comes, I think, more scientific perspectives. And I hope GRBase will be able to help you to make more discovery. I come to my conclusion. I have time to just say one word. So, okay. So I list on the left side, I think things we missed in the observational point of view before the SWOM era. So basically it comes from the fact that many multi-wavelength observations were not coordinated because there was not dedicated telescope to follow Swift GRBs. I mean, it's people wants to follow or not, and it's normal. And it's the advantage of SWOM to have also a network of telescopes dedicated to the follow-up of this. And I think Colibri is a very unique telescope for this kind of task. I also hope that in the future, GRBase will facilitate GRB population studies. It would be important also to have this database to compare what different missions have done. I think it's also good to have such a tool to extract very quickly data in a standard format. It's quite a nightmare right now. If you want to collect the data for a given GRB, you have to dig into GCN and papers and so on. So we will provide this tool for modeling analysis, for GRB physical property studies, and so on, and also for multi-messenger studies. I don't have time to talk about it, but it's also a very important tool to have these kind of things to make multi-messenger studies connected to GRBs. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Damien. So we have maybe time for one question before the coffee break. So Rosa, you have a question.
But mine is just curiosity because you have a lot of data, and how much time of your life have taken to collect all of them?
all the time of my life, all my weekends. No, yes, it's a very time consuming, not all my weekends, of course, but it's very time consuming. We started to make the first collection in 2015, but it's not, a continuous process. It's hard for me to make this all the day or all the weeks, and so sometimes I make a bunch of GRBs, and sometimes I stop for a few months, and sometimes I can re-continue. So I don't count the time I spend on this, but it's very time consuming. But I hope it will be very helpful for everybody afterwards. I guess, because it is for me.
a question by Diego.
So when do you plan GRBase will be online and ready to use?
I didn't want to have this question. So actually, I can't ask really, but what I can tell you is that by the end of the year, I hope to have collected all the follow-up data for GRBase with Redshift up to 2020. But then we have to clean mailing data. We have to make some pre-processing of this data to be sure that we are not broadcasting just bad data or things like that. So I think it's going to take at least, it's hard for me to say, but at least 1 year.
And as a chairman, I allow myself the last question before the coffee break. Was the confinement useful for making this database or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
I made a plan during the confinement to take data every day.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. So we now have the coffee break, and we are supposed to meet at 35. So in 12 minutes from now. So to start with the presentation of Robin Marron. Okay, see you. Bye.
Damián. Damián. Damián, are you still here?
No, fueron por café, espera.
Alain is trying faster than light experiments with 2 cameras and 2 bottles. And a single Alain.